Hello everybody, welcome back to eLife Ethics Live. What is on the news today? A verdict today on the Bloodline case where the jury decided in favor of Marvin Gaye's family and awarded $7.3 million, saying Robin Thicke and Pharrell Williams borrowed from that song. Tonight, our fellow experts are going to duly discuss what are the odds in this Bloodline's copyright case. Stay tuned everybody.
Do you think the Gaye family should own the rights to the feel of Got to Give It Up in addition to specific lyrics, melodies, harmony? Why or why not?
Thank you for your question, Miss. So, let us understand what copyright is about. Copyright is a type of intellectual property that gives its owner the exclusive right to make copies of a creative work, usually for a limited time. The creative work may be in literary, artistic, educational, or musical form. Besides, ethics focus on three aspects, which is values, principle, and purpose, so it can be related with the music industry. Yes, it is very subjective, as different people from all walks of life may have different tastes in music genre. Therefore, we should not deny that moral and music have mutual connection, whether directly or indirectly. So, in our opinion, yes, Gaye family should have owned the rights to the feel of the music in addition to specific lyrics, melodies, harmony, and etc. Why? The reasons are, firstly, it is because the word of an artist is his asset. If an artist has an original idea or piece of creative work, no matter what others may say, it is still a potential asset and should be treated as such. For literally, musical or artistic works, copyrights can last a further 70 years after the death of the original creators. And in broadcast or publishing cases, this time period extends to 50 years. Secondly, it is to protect the rights of artists. Why? Because when someone infringed copyright, there is a legal ground to pursue the guilty party to either pay for a license or compensate for any financial that may have incurred. If they are using the work without a knowledge of the artist in his rights to stop them doing so and receive compensation for any earnings they have made off the back of the work. Lastly, the reason is licensing is the way forward. If any artist have copyrighted works that has attracted the interest of other parties, he can ask for licensing options to make sure the artist can financially benefit from their use. Licensing is a legal authorization from artists to another party that permits them to use some or perhaps all of artists' copyrighted works.
What distinctions can you identify among sampling, appropriating, and stealing components of a song?
Basically, in music world, what is actually sampling, appropriating, and stealing is three different things. So fundamentally, there are differences between these actions do by people. For sampling, it is the reiteration of a part of a component of a song in another recording by means of component. It can be rhythm, melody, and other possible manipulation. There was this case previously, the artist Jay-Z, which was sued for unauthorized samples of the Big Pimp Pimp song for the legendary song of Ice Ice Baby. Some may say sampling is stealing, but it's actually not in the music industry. That's sampling. For appropriating is the illegal usage or taking someone's work or property, meaning to say here in the music industry often happen appropriation in the way of cultural appropriation, in which it seems unavoidable in the modern era of sampling, song sampling. Previous case under cultural appropriation can be seen in the case of Justin Bieber, who did the dreadlock hair, which he creates displeasure among the black people in America. Lastly, the most popular of all in the music industry is of course stealing. So stealing is the definite copying of music or lyrics without consent from the copyright holder. This is meant to say that stealing can be in result of violation under ethical standards and could be punished heavily for damages. In the current case, we're talking on the copyright case of the Bloodline song. Many suggested that it was a definite stealing, but some may say that the copyright law had kind of ruined the concept of what can be protectable in a song. So that's what stealing is all about actually. That's the differences, the main differences we can see between sampling, appropriating, and stealing.
Hello there, my question to you is, do you think it is important to provide legal protections for artists, even it might hinder artistic credibility and the new words that might come from musical influence? Thank you.
To me personally, yes. I believe it is vital to implement legal protection towards musical composition and placing limitations on songwriting. The law that governs the music industry is copyright law. In the United States, they use the Copyright Act 1976, while in Malaysia, the law is Copyright Act 1987. According to the law, musical compositions have different length of protection based on the types of the copyright and when the work was first published. As in the case of Pharrell Williams and Marvin Gaye, the case left many effects to the music industry, and some believe that there will be tremendous possible trial for copyright trolls. The only way to avoid from such lawsuit case between them is to implement ethical behavior, which is obtaining legal consent, since Williams produced the music influenced by Gaye's work. So, when we talk about copyright, there shall be no means of being a hindrance to artistic creativity for future music industry. The law protects the original works of authorship, recognizes new medias, and promotes art and culture. It does not mean to obstruct anyone's desire to express their personality and preferences in music. In these modernized days, the increasing developments in music and digital media technology are supposed to assist musicians to access to unknown works of music. We have many platforms, for instance, Spotify, YouTube Music, and Apple Music. If it is so eager that all ideas are already used in existing songs in the industry record, then the insist musician shall gain consent and legal license to use the almost similar sound, notes, rhythm, or melody. More than that, simply he or she can also remix the song legally. Should authors, musicians, and other artists acknowledge all of the influences on their work, regardless of the degree of influence? Why or why not?
Thank you for the question. Yes, for me it is very important to acknowledge all the influences on their work regardless of the degree of influence. As producer, we usually make sure that the work that we need to produce are not similar with other. We are strictly producing our original work, and if we take the idea or are inspired by others' work, we usually give credit to show some appreciation to them and also to avoid from being sued by the copyright owner. To create or produce an original idea are not easy. We did not know how hard they plan, how much they invest, and so on. So if we did not acknowledge or give credit to their work, it will become plagiarism. As we know, plagiarism is where we are trying to pass someone else's ideas or writing as our own. It is a serious offense that can damage our reputation as a producer forever and lead to very serious consequences if committed in an academic or professional setting. However, nowadays, plagiarism is a problem that exists not only on college, university, and high school, but it also happened in our music industry, whereby, as we can see in our discussed topic Bloodline, where Gaye heroes take legal action towards Pharrell and Thick because of the similar of the sound between Got to Give It Up and Bloodlines. As for the whole case, I agree that Bloodlines does sound similar to Got to Give It Up. However, if it were a different scenario where Tick and Farrell didn't mean to somewhat copy the song, and if it were us who own Got to Give It Up, I would not want to take legal action like Gay hears. This is because people are going to love artists for how they sound, and if they find another artist that sound a little bit similar, they have thousands of choices of music to listen to and to choose from. I'm not saying the same sound, but I'm saying that as an artist, we know we will not be the only artist people will listen to, and we know there will be other artists where we share a similar vibe at least. Last but not least, as a producer, I do think that it's wrong to copy other sound in terms of the chord progression, tempo, rhythm, and kits of the original sound, and I disagree with those artists who do that and did not acknowledge the originality. But for the vibes, I did not think it is wrong to share the same vibe, and the vibe itself should not even be able to be copyright. It is because vibes are something that we can share, felt, and enjoy with one and another. As for conclusion, like I said before, it is important for the authors, musicians, and other artists to acknowledge all the influences on their work, regardless of the degree of influence, so that there is no issue of copyright cases, and the copyright must hit a fair balance between protecting creative works and allowing the public to use them. Thank you. If you purchase a song and then recognize that it is appropriating an earlier work, you are not legally obligated to stop listening, but are you obligated ethically? Thank you.
Are we all obligated to stop listening ethically? Very good question. To continue listening or stop listening and report? Many have shown their opinions on this blurred lines copyright case, where some might say that Robin Thicke and Pharrell Williams' act to copy the song was idiotic and unethical. Nevertheless, under ethics, this can be a debatable topic that produces arguments worthy of consideration for a much higher understanding of ethics itself. So let us derive these issues under possible ethical behavior. First, respect. Artists and songwriters in the music industry have to start respecting the intellectual property right and uphold the right between interest of information user and right holders. As we can see today, music has developed into a whole new level, and more music is listened nowadays by more people than never before. So therefore, a sign of respect should be given, especially previous artists in the 80s and 90s piece of art. So in this disguise, the community should show our power to clearly block these copyright actions by some artists, composers, or songwriters. Second, dignity. Each work has its price and dignity at stake. We as human beings should always present our dignity for its valuableness of respect that may help us in any manner. In the United Kingdom, we can see an example. The song Blurred Lines was already being banned by several UK universities and radio stations. This shows that in the UK, they are not accepting these symbolic acts of copywriting, which should not receive any intention of respect. Third, truthfulness. As humans interact with each other every day, we need the right of equity for each of every person. In the case of Blurred Lines copyright, it is obvious that there was a sense of lying to the other party in the hope of gaining the commercialized advantages, which is deemed unethical under ethics. Thus, equity in this case means fairness, and when people often desire something intensely but the outcome to be just disappointing, so that's just how life works. So it is very critical for us, audience or the community, to advocate and increase our information on the critical resources for copyright in the communities. There we go, everybody. Controversy has its perks. Did the song Blurred Lines really copy or steal the song Got to Give It Up by Marvin Gaye? This Blurred Line case has demonstrated that aesthetic judgment not only affects the moral, ethics, or even legal evaluation of certain acts of copying, but also precedes the question of fact whether act of copying to produce some kind of derivative has actually occurred or not at all. Remember guys, copyright is wrong and it's never right to do so. Well guys, we have to come to an end for your Ethics Live today, E-Live. Hit your comments and question down below. What do you guys have to say on ethics and copyright in any manner? Thank you and see you guys soon.